All right, so this is part two of, again, the first two steps that I take when something's going wrong or when I come into a new account. This is budgets and advertise ASINs are a step above keywords. So I covered advertise ASINs in the last video, and now I want to touch on budgets because both of these hold more weight than just keywords alone. So you need to make sure that these are topped up and optimized before you get into the weeds and get into the keywords. So, and I have made a video about this before about a year ago, but I wanted to cover it again because I don't think a lot of people are doing this. They're not looking at the whole picture here, and this is really, really easy to analyze what your budgets are doing. And so all it is this export button right here. So I have all of my campaigns, I sorted spend, high to low, you export, boom, you get all this data. So I'm going to open this file, and I did delete a lot of columns, and this one's new, but the only columns I kept were budget, spend, sales, and ACOS. These are going to be new that I've made. Okay? Now, what I'm doing here is I summed up my spend and I summed up my sales. This is spend and sales for the past 30 days for all campaigns. What I want to figure out is what percentage of my total spend is each campaign getting. So what I do is I equals spend divided by my total spend. And then you put a little dollar sign in here to hold that. And then you copy this down. So this way, each of these columns is going to divide by that same cell at the bottom. Okay? And I do the same thing for sales. I take my E2 and I divide it by my total sales and I get these numbers. What this is telling me is that this campaign has made up 14.2% of my total spend the past 30 days. And it's accounted for 14% of my sales. This is exactly what I want. I want these numbers to match up. I want this 1-to-1 ratio, right? I want these to be equal. Now, as I go through here, okay, here's a good example. This one, it's actually underspending because you can see the ACOS is super low on this one. It's 14%. But this might mean I have some room to grow this one because it's making up a bigger chunk of the sales than it is spending. So I might want to expand on this one. Might want to dive deeper here. See, can I raise the budget at all? The budget's super high. But the point of this video is to look for ones that are going in the opposite direction. So this account is pretty optimized, to be honest. I do this frequently. But let's look at this one right here. This campaign, you see it's got a 35% ACOS. It's made up 3.2% of my total spend, but only 1.9% of my sales. That's the biggest delta that I've seen yet. The biggest change that I've seen. I think it's the biggest on the account. So what I want to do is I want to get these numbers to equal, right? And obviously I can go into this campaign and just kind of dive deeper on it and see what's happening. But if you guys pull this for your account, I'm guessing you're going to have a lot of them that have a big delta. So what I want you to do is start cutting back your budgets. So how you kind of work backwards here is, remember, this is 30-day spend. So what you have to do is do daily spend. So for this one, it's got a $35 budget. It's spent this much in 30 days. So it's spending about $24 a day. Okay, it's $24 a day, and it's making up 1.9% of sales. I want this number to be 1.9 as well. So all I want to do, let's do this. Let's say new spend. All I want to do equals my total spend times 0.019 times 1.9%. This is the 30-day spend that would get these numbers to equal. So then if I divide this by 30, $14 a day. Okay? So this campaign is overspending $10 a day. And if I cut this down, it's going to help my overall ACOS. And then obviously I can go in and optimize this campaign. But this is a pretty small example. But I've come into plenty of accounts where, let's say this is spent $2,000, right? Now, all of a sudden, there's this huge change, this huge delta. And people keep forcing money into this campaign. I'm like, listen, it's not working. It's not working. You have these accounts, these campaigns up here that are doing very well, and this one is just sucking your money dry. So in this case, let's say if it had spent $2,000, that means it was spending $66 a day, and when in reality, it should only be spending $15 a day. So, set hard budgets. I said this a couple videos ago. Set hard budgets. Sometimes when ACOS is running away, people just let it keep running. And having a $5 budget on a campaign, there is no issue with it. There is nothing wrong with that. Because let your hero campaigns do the work. Let them keep pulling in the sales. Don't keep forcing these ones that are overspending. So, to wrap up this kind of two-part big step audit I do, and I want to make a note. Unfortunately, there's no way to bulk upload budgets, at least not that I know of, that always mess stuff up. So unfortunately, you have to do this manually and then kind of go through here and look at this campaign and then change the budget manually, okay? But before you do keywords, change budgets, pause ASINs that aren't converting, and then you can finally get a clearer picture of what's happening before you dive into the weeds and dive into keywords. Because once you add negatives, you can't undo them. So all of these steps with changing budgets and pausing ASINs, there's steps that can be undone. But the negatives, once you add negatives, it's hard to forget about them, and then all of a sudden your campaigns are ruined. So please do these two steps first, and then it'll save you a lot of time and money in the long run.